My name is Kyle Isacksen, and I'm running for Washoe County Commission, District 3. I don't know how to. I don't know how I want to say this. You know, it's like I'm making a blanket statement, but it's what I'm hearing from people, in that they're like, we don't have a champion. We don't have a champion for mass transit. We don't have a champion for solar and renewable power, and I have no problem speaking out about those things. I have no problem working on solving those problems and advocating for those solutions. It's what we have to do if we're going to move forward, and if we're going to move forward to a more just and sustainable future. Then these are the things we need to be talking about, and these are the things we need to be working on. And it's not going to happen by doing the same old business as usual, the same old type of development, the same old ways of moving around, the same old ways of renting houses, and it just doesn't work. It's not working. And I want to be part of that solution. And so getting elected to the Washoe County Commission, it provides a certain amount of power. It provides a platform. It amplifies voices. And so if I can use that platform, if I can use that position to further these goals, again, around transportation, housing, sustainability, that would be awesome. I would be grateful, grateful for the opportunity to do that work. Yeah, and I think I have this diversity of experience from being a teacher, science teacher, starting in middle school, being a political organizer in the past, being a roofer, a carpenter, running a nonprofit now for 10, 11 years. I think that diversity of experience and how the things I've learned from different people and different places and different opportunities, I think I can bring that to the county to do some good in this place. So I'm standing in front of our house, what we call our urban homestead, the home of our nonprofit Be the Change project. We got this house with a lot of help in 2011, and it was unlivable. The floor was caving in. There were dead cats in the crawl space, and part of our goal in coming to this house in this area was to revitalize some things and to bring some beauty into this community and have a space where our family could grow, but where also we could create a space that is vibrant, that is full of life, and that has an impact in the neighborhood and the community. So it was just a dead, empty lot, nothing growing except for prickly weeds. And over the years, we've developed the soil, and my wife Katie has just planted it full of everything. We have raspberries, apple trees, peach trees, plum trees, currant, quince, gooseberry, just asparagus, perennials, annuals. We've made compost. We have worm compost. And as a result of all that work, we have seen an amazing diversity of insects and birds, including hawks, coming to the yard and coming to our little pond. Really, it's an oasis. And from this space, I'm proud to say that, what we've done has radiated outward. We've welcomed about 3,000 people to this spot in the 10, 11 years that we've been here, through field trips with kids and volunteer days, events, classes, tours, parties. And people come here, they see what we do, they see what might be possible in this urban desert context, and they take parts of that with them to their world and in our neighborhood as well. So we've had friends move in and buy other broken down houses and fix them up and do similar things and bring their wisdom into the mix. We've done murals where there used to be graffiti all up and down Whittekind Avenue. Over there is Pat Baker Park, which has kind of this a bit of a dark past with violence and drugs and stuff. But we started doing stuff in Pat Baker Park in 2013, 14. We put on Art Town events there, and then started the Reno Garlic Fest there in 2017. And so it's really been a community effort starting from as soon as we got here. I really care about this community, and I really care about our environment, and I really care about the direction that we're heading into the future together. And the values that I have around the environment, around affordable housing, around development and infill, and how we're deciding to grow as a city they're really important to a lot of people, and I don't hear a lot of our elected officials speaking loudly enough to those types of things. And just as a regular citizen, I've got a good life. I've been doing all sorts of good work in the community for a while. Very rewarding. I have a good family. We're very comfortable with what we do and how we're living, but I really felt like it was time to step up and serve as a citizen in this democracy. I'm not doing this as a stepping stone to some higher office or to some in order to get more clients from some business. I'm doing it because I really want to work in the community at a bigger scale. And being a county commissioner comes with a certain amount of power and a certain platform that allows us to talk and to do more things. When I when I first started thinking about running, I reached out to a bunch of friends, and mostly older folks with more experience. And one of them, it was a former county commissioner from back in the 90s, and we were talking, and he said, "You know what?" He said, "The county commission is the level of government that has the most direct impact on people's daily lives. And it's transportation, it's infrastructure, it's development, it's senior services, it's homeless services, it's the parks, it's elections, the list goes on and on." And I didn't hear, so that meant a lot to me, that he said that, and that this position can have such an impact on people's lives. I think one of the things I bring to the county commission is a wide breadth of experience. I grew up in New York. I did commercial roofing for 5 years while I was going through school. I did carpentry. I worked on a lobster boat. Then I went to school for biology. So I got a degree in biology, and then I followed that up with a graduate degree in education. My dad was a teacher, and the lifestyle that he was able to create while also giving back to the community resonated with me. And so I followed in his footsteps. My mother also taught for several years as well. And so I got into teaching and did that for about 7 years. And my wife and I actually started the middle school program at High Desert Montessori School, which is just a couple blocks away from here. And then from teaching, I did political work, organizing for the 2004 election. I was the education director for the Great Basin Institute, creating youth programs. I worked for the River School, managing the River School farm. I have run this nonprofit now for 10 or 11 years, where we've done all sorts of things, from starting down-to-earth compost to the Reno Garlic Fest, to putting on a play called Liberty's Children, which is about the plight of undocumented immigrants. And so I bring a real diversity of experience, blue collar, white collar, manual labor, to writing and even researching microplastics in the Truckee River. And I think that's unusual. And I'm not trying to just like toot my own horn or something, but I think that's unusual to have people in elected positions that have such a diversity of experience. And it's actually been a challenge sometimes when I go talk to people about why I'm running or what I've done, because there's so many different things. I haven't been a teacher for 40 years, or a firefighter for 30 years. I've served the community in a number of different ways for 20 years. And that's been the common thread, really. It's that trying to create a place trying to connect people with place, with each other, and with purpose, fostering connections between people, purpose, and place. And it's looked differently over the years, but that's been the common thread. Like when we started the Reno Garlic Fest, our goal was to get more people connected to the soil and to be thinking about organic food. And so we thought, everybody loves garlic. Garlic grows well in Nevada. It's easy to grow, so we'll start a garlic fest. And so we went about doing it. And it was a huge success. And as a result of just planting that seed, there's scores more people now that are taking classes. My wife teaches gardening classes now with Reno Food Systems. And people are growing their own garlic, and 5,000 people show up at the Garlic Fest and buy local garlic and think about where this stuff is coming from, and that it's organically grown, and that a local farmer has done it. When I started Down to Earth Compost, we called it the Reno Rot Riders back then. My goal was to create a model or a mechanism for capturing food waste. Because when food waste and green waste goes to the dump, it turns into methane. Methane's a terrible greenhouse gas. So that's bad. But then also we lose the opportunity to turn that green waste into healthy soil, where that can be used to grow plants, that can be used to sequester carbon, that can be used to capture and filter water. So there's all these myriad benefits. And so that was the big goal. And then how I went about doing that was taking the first step and saying, okay, who can I talk to? How can I create this business? So I had my bike, we built a trailer, and I reached out to local restaurants like Liberty and Campo, Grateful Gardens, Laughing Planet, Hub Coffee Roasters, Coffee Bar, etc., and said, hey, I'll pick up your coffee grounds or your food waste and make it into compost, and I'll charge you a little bit of money every month. How about that? They said, great. And so started that, did it for 3 years, transferred 150,000 pounds of food waste, or diverted that from the landfill into local soils. And now that's been going on for 8 years, I think, 7, 8 years. Sold the company and there's 750 people now that are customers, and so that's a success. Microplastics. I would hike down by the river and see plastic bottles, plastic bags stuck in willow trees, and started to think about, well, what are we doing with plastics around here? And started reading articles about how microplastics were showing up at all different levels in the ecosystem, from algae, who mistake it for food, and then into fish, and then eventually into humans. And so started looking into that and decided, hey, why don't we test the Truckee River for microplastics and see what's going on here locally. Reached out to a hydrologist friend of mine, Brian Fitzgerald, and that's what we did. We went to the river, got the right equipment, got some money from Patagonia, and started doing some testing, and worked with DRI, worked with the University of Rochester in New York, and found out that yes, there are microplastics in the Truckee River. And as a result of that work, DRI has now run with it, and they've tested the Tahoe, Lake Tahoe, the Tahoe Basin. They've done stuff in Las Vegas, and then Davis College has come and also does microplastics work in the region. And so my hope is to use some of that research to inform what we do as a society. So let's look at how we use plastic, and especially single-use plastics in the area, in our region. Can we cut back on that stuff? We know it's not healthy, and now it's showing up in human bloodstream and also in our lungs. And what is that doing for people? What is that doing for our environment? And through the research that we started, we want to use that to inform these decisions as a community and say, hey, you know what? Let's limit or eliminate plastic bags from our watershed, for example, or let's work to eliminate or to limit, plastic water bottles, things like that. It's, these are these are big problems that are very solvable, but they take hard work. They take a vision for what's possible, and they take making the first steps to solve them. So one of the things that I think is essential for an elected official to have is a vision for the future. Is, where is the community going, and how do we take the steps to get there? And so I think one of the things that I excel at, and that I've done over the years, and I've shown that I can do over the years, is starting with an idea as part of a bigger vision, and then taking that idea and making it a reality. So we took this broken down house that was essentially a dead space and created a verdant oasis out of it. We started the Reno Garlic Fest to support local agriculture and organic food, and now it's a thriving annual festival. Time and again, I've taken an idea and and made it into a reality by taking the first steps, by recognizing and understanding what are the first steps we need to take to create something better for the future. When I was a teacher, working with my wife Katie, we traveled all around the country and worked in very diverse settings, from inner city San Francisco, small town New England, residential high school for at-risk youth, to Montessori here in Reno. And we got to see what makes a good school and what makes an effective teacher. And so we always wanted to create a school. We had this bigger vision for what education could be. And so to do that, we said, well, let's start a school. And that's what we did. We got a $150,000 grant from EdVisions Inc. and used that money to create a middle school program, a project-based and alternative middle school program with an existing charter school. And so time and again, it's here's the vision, here's where we want to go, and what are the baby steps we need to take to get there. And part of what I think I do well is I can see that, but also I know who to reach out to, or I can ask different people to find out, who do I need to talk to? You know, who's the local expert on composting, or who is the local expert on on navigating, you know, these city rules so we can achieve our goals. And that ability to have a vision and to take the steps, concrete steps to implementing that vision, I think is very important for a county commissioner to have. One of the things that I'm most concerned about is affordable housing. When people are so burdened with high housing costs, it's impossible to have time to contribute to the community, have time to worry about the environment and climate change, to even just effectively manage stress with your regular life and family life. And so that's not okay. And so when I look at affordable housing, I see things like, oh, here's some of the numbers. It's something like 55% of people in Washoe County rent. But because of the power of developers and real estate groups and landlord groups, we are not even able to create a rental registry in this state. It was shot down last session. A rental registry should be step one, to know who owns the houses, what corporation owns the houses, in many cases, how many units they own, how much money they're making, and how much rent they're charging year over year. That is basic data that we as a community deserve to have. When the housing bubble burst in 2008, there was a huge influx of capital buying up now cheap and foreclosed on houses. These are big corporations, many of them out of state, who exist, who use houses to make a profit. That's okay. It's not okay to use housing to be greedy or to make excessive profits. So rental registry, number one.
Yep.
All right, so number two is, what is number two, Mike?
You were finishing up on rental registry.
Oh, the rental registry. The second thing we can do is called rent stabilization. It's a kind of a form of rent control. And I've been told time and again as I talk to other elected officials that, oh, we can't talk about rent control or rent stabilization. Nonsense. Rent stabilization is done in many other states. And what it is, there's a state or a municipal board that's created that says, okay, here's the rate of inflation, and here's how much more money a landlord can charge. So instead of rent going up by 25% in a year, which is insane and inhumane, the agency can say, inflation's 3% or whatever it was for the year, and then you can tack on another 3 so to make a profit, so rent can go up 6% a year. This allows the landlord to make a profit while also stabilizing our communities and allowing people to have a rent that's affordable, and to know that the increase is not going to skyrocket and then all of a sudden they're going to be facing homelessness or having to move. This is particularly important for seniors and people on fixed incomes. When rent, a friend of mine, her rent just went up, I think it was $300, and she got a notice saying in 6 weeks your rent will go up $300 a month. She's on a fixed income, she's a senior. It's like, how is she supposed to deal with that? So rent stabilization is number 2. Number 3, we need to be promoting and accelerating community land trusts for affordable housing. These exist all around the country. There's one in town with the Community Foundation of Northern Nevada that we worked with on building the house over there. These are very innovative ways of separating the land cost from the cost of the house. And so the nonprofit owns the land and people can buy and sell the house. But the house is kept at a price range that it's tagged to median income in the county. And then when people want to, if somebody buys the house, they live there for a while, they sell it, they can only sell it, the price can only go up by how much wages have gone up in the county. So those are 3 ways. Another way, 4th way, is to allow accessory dwelling units, also known as granny flats, backyard rentals. So that was shot down in Reno in 2018, I believe, but we could get 2,000 to 3,000 units up relatively quickly if we allowed that kind of zoning change. That's 4. Another way to help with housing costs is inclusionary zoning. And that means that when you are building, like say a 200 unit apartment complex, that some of those units have to remain affordably priced. So there's different mechanisms that we can use to improve the housing situation in Reno. And like I said, some of these are just people, how do I say this nicely? A lot of our elected officials are beholden to the money that comes from developers, landlords, real estate groups, and they are unwilling to speak up about things like rental registry, about things like rent stabilization. But this is what everybody else is talking about, what everybody else needs, the folks that I'm talking to at the door and the people that are struggling with this. So those are some very concrete things that if I was elected to the Washoe County Commission around affordable housing, that I would work on. Moving on to climate and the environment, something I'm really passionate about. Reno is the 2nd fastest warming city in the entire country, so that is incredibly disturbing. We're also dealing with wildfires. And my question is, okay, what can we do as a city, as a county, what can we do here to help play a role in solving the climate crisis? And that to me looks like renewable energy, water conservation, looking at what we're doing around plastics, tree canopy, how to increase the tree coverage in the urban areas. So looking at those 4, if I drive out on, and then 5 we'll put down transportation. We have to talk about transportation. So if I drive up North Virginia, I see a whole bunch of new warehouses. Not one of them has a single solar panel on top of them. Not one of them has made use of a ground source heat pump. This is low-hanging fruit in terms of renewable energy that have, both of these technologies have return on investments in 7 years on average or something. It's smart investments, it's clean energy, and it's better for it's better for everybody, and it's not happening. Going to mass transit and transportation second. Our bus system can be a lot better. Let's put it that way. I spent about 7 years, our family, without a car here. We would bike and bus to get places with our kids. It's really hard to get from point A to point B and to point C using our mass transit system as is. So if I was elected to the county commission, I would really want to dive into that and see, okay, what's a better way to do this system so we can meet the needs of more people, so we can reduce the amount of cars on the road, so we can reduce the amount of road building that we need, and transition as a society away from individual vehicles into more effective mass transit. Along with that, we need to be developing the infrastructure that makes biking safe and comfortable and effective as well. I was talking to a planner a few weeks back, and he said people will not, how do he put it? People are not going to bike if they think they're going to die. And I love that quote, because that's totally true. When you're biking along in a bike lane, all of a sudden it ends and then you're right with traffic, that's scary. I don't even want to do that, and I'm a experienced cyclist. So those are a couple things around mass transit. Looking long term, I would love for us as a community to invest in the generational infrastructure project that would be passenger rail. So how do we do passenger rail from the North Valleys all the way to Carson, from Verdi into California, all the way out to Trick, and then all the way out to Fernley? We've got one artery going out to Trick right now, and if there's a minor car crash, there's a backup for for hours potentially. So how do we do passenger rail? Again, it's greener, cleaner, quieter, safer, takes cars off the road, winds up being more affordable for people, just like buses when you don't have to own a car. So that's the type of thinking and the type of vision that we need to be planning for that now, because we're going to continue to grow as a region, and there's federal dollars, there's rail dollars, there's ARPA funding that's coming in that we need to direct to projects like that. Tree canopy. When you take a map of, let's say, of Reno, and you look at at income, you see the lowest, and you find the places with the lowest income, and then you overlay a map of tree canopy or canopy coverage on top of that, you'll see that they match up, that there's no trees in all these areas of lower income. And those people are feeling the worst effects of the what's called the heat island effect, where sun shines down on the hardscape, on our paved surfaces and our buildings. There's no trees, there's no shade. Those areas heat up, and we're starting to lose our cooler nights in this high desert environment of ours. And so we need to increase the number of trees that we have in the city to combat that. Trees also filter air and create better air quality, which is even more important when we have a fire season. And they also have added benefits of just improving people's quality of lives. So this is a primary election, District 3, Washoe County. Mail-in ballots come out the week of the 16th in May. Everybody gets a mail-in ballot this year, which is great. Early voting starts on May 28th and goes for 2 weeks. And then the actual election day is June 14th. So there's no reason not to get out there and vote. It's been made really easy. It's a Democratic primary, so you have to be a Democrat to vote for me. It's easy to change your registration, and it's easy to register to vote in the first place. So I encourage you, get out there, make your voice heard. Because this is a Democratic-leaning district, whatever Democratic candidate wins in the primary will almost certainly win in the general election. So your vote really, really matters and has a lot more weight right now in the primary. Coming up in the primary. Trying to do my name is Kyle Isacksen, and I approve this message. So
that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.